What's going on? Happy New Year. What's going on, Randy? What up, Gaston? Master Wu. What's going on, everyone? What's going on? Master Wu. What's going on, my dude? How you been, man? Welcome in, everyone. Welcome in. What a great start to the new year. Everyone gets to see Tesla pretty much just moon to start the new year. Insane gap up that we had. Julian, go away. Funny. You talking shit? How funny. What's going on? Happy New Year, everyone. Happy New Year. Appreciate that, Roger. Hopefully, everyone started off the new year on a great note. Hopefully, you guys set some new goals for the year. But most importantly, you started off on the right foot. That's pretty much the most important thing. I think today's price action really gave you that opportunity to really start it off on the right foot. That Tesla run was just insanely crazy. I think at any point, if you bought the dip or you even chased, you had an opportunity to make money off of that. So that was definitely, I mean, like I was pointing to, is great start for the new year. For those of you, especially starting up maybe in a new account and maybe just putting money away and restarting your account for that matter. So just a great way to start the new year. We just want to build on that. Make sure that we, this year, 2022, we just take away all those bad habits and start it off on the right foot. But jumping in real quick as we get into the market here, I certainly did not expect the market to really rally in this way in this early into the year. I know that Avery was also expecting a little bit of a pullback to start the year and then maybe rally towards the end of the week, but it looks like it's going to be more likely vice versa. And so, jumping into the alerts that we had today, and we saw what we had right off the rip, off the flow alerts were pretty much Tesla rapids, and that kind of caught me off guard because at the moment in time when I actually saw it, I actually thought that we had duplicates, and I'm like, why do we have three rapids off of Tesla? But if you actually notice, they hit all the same strike, but the cost, the premium on them were all different. So that actually, when I went to go look at the flow itself, and I was like, well, why did we hit 1150 so repeatedly? And I saw all the premiums so differently. That's what really caught my attention. And then we already saw that some point in the day there was a 4 mil buy order also on Tesla as well. So that was just beautiful. But what I ended up doing was just looking at the rising wedge action. I actually had the trend line set just a little bit differently in anticipation that this was going to go slightly different, and looking in the sense that maybe we end up getting somewhat of a intraday dip that was more than what we ended up seeing here today. And so if you see that yellow line, that's pretty much what I ended up drawing, going across, setting up towards the wicks at the bottom, and looking to see where that rising wedge was going to end up bringing us that intraday dip. But the dip that we got was pretty much just this little wick right here, right around that 1 o'clock, close to 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern is when we ended up just getting that small wick towards the afternoon. And I was like, wow, is that really all the dip that we're going to get for Tesla? So that's when it really told me what the strength was behind all of this, behind that rapid flow that you see currently, behind the 4 mil order that we got today, amongst the other flow that was out there. So I really expected this one to really hit 1200 today. Granted, the fact that that was all the dip that we got, and it literally got bought right back up, and we ended up crossing above that resistance line. That's really when it told me that we're gonna go to 1200, and so I knew to end up being in that trade. So I did get into it late in the day. I didn't get into this early rip because I wasn't exactly trusting what this price action was at that time, and I was caught in other plays. You heard me talking about Boeing. You heard me talking about Goldman Sachs, as that was a newsletter play. So I was just going off the news, the plays that I really trusted more, and that I was looking around TA more so, rather than just pretty much going after Tesla as I usually always do. But granted the fact, once we ended up breaking that resistance line for the intraday here, that's when you really wanted to go in and get a scalp off of that. That was the key to me. Of course, you always want to get in close to the 9-day EMA or the 21-day EMA. As you see, I still have the cloud left up here for that purpose. So if you were to end up getting a position, it would, and as you see, you're pretty much, you never end up crossing that 21-day EMA until you got towards that 2 o'clock Eastern time. That was your dip buy opportunity. But what I ended up doing was I didn't necessarily take that because I was expecting a bigger dip. Is that I got in an entry once we retested the breakout of the resistance line. And that's when I ended up getting in that rip here from 1185, I believe was my fill. And I exited right around 1195 or so because I was expecting a quick wick right up to 1200. But as you see, we got a beautiful push right into that 1200 mark. They stopped us just a little bit shy. Actually, no, we hit dead on exactly at the mark. 1200 was the high on this wick. And then we ended up getting a beautiful little retrace right back down to the 21-day EMA. And what I actually noticed after hours is that we did break above the 1200 mark. My next target was right around 1218 or so is the next target that I'm watching. Overall, PT, I can expect this to hit 1250. I won't be surprised if it pushes 1250. If it goes beyond 1250, then that will literally solidify what Avery's expecting as a parabolic, I want to say parabolic curve for that matter, parabolic action. And we'll see, we'll pretty much determine the price action therefore at that point. I know his overall target is 1400 for a bigger time frame and for that. So we'll re-examine it tomorrow. Let's see if that after hours action today pretty much go ahead and continues into tomorrow morning, and maybe we get a $30 gap up and we'll have to address it at that point in time to see how strong that gap up is plus what market conditions are as well. All right, but next one was also NVDA. I saw NVIDIA and I also saw AMD just going nuts. The one thing that actually stood out to me about NVIDIA was they actually have an event that's coming up on January 10th. So once I saw this starting to run so early, I was a little bit of a head scratcher because I wasn't expecting it until closer towards the end of the week. But it was a good rally. Nonetheless, you saw that we had that initial big push, and we pretty much just trended sideways right along that massive candle. The only thing about this unusual is that if you ended up catching this at 9:36 in the morning, as you see, that was pretty much just on about the high of the day for that matter. That was a little bit of a head scratcher because you probably would have ended up hitting your stop loss as you saw that massive wick right back down. So this one was in the sense that you needed to have a stop loss. You could have averaged down potentially on the bottom here, and maybe, depending upon your average down amount, if you went in heavier than your initial investment there, you would have had an opportunity to come out just unscaled, maybe even. But this one was a little bit of a failure here, given the fact that the buyer ended up stepping in right at the peak of the day, and you would have hit your stop loss. So that was a big picture about that. But key takeaway here, so that is that Nvidia does have an event coming up on January 10th in the morning, and then also AMD also has an event as well that's going to be supposedly tomorrow. And I know that someone called that out, and we saw what the price action was with AMD. They were pushing north of $7 in gains. So that was a beautiful one as well. So once I saw, Nvidia go and AMD go hand in hand, I knew that that was going to be pretty much a beautiful day for the chips in general. All right. Moving on was also Apple. We hit the 3 trillion mark today. I know that Tatum was pretty much all over trying to track this one to see at what point it was going to hit the 3 trillion mark. But it was a beautiful move off of this one. We had those early rapids that came in at 935. Then we ended up following it up with a leap. Now the leap, I did scratch my head only because they went out to 2024. They skipped an entire year. But and I would assume that they ended up possibly taking some profits out of this once we hit that 3 trillion mark today. But nonetheless, we saw the rapids, and usually when I say about rapids, is that you like to usually follow up on rapids during the market hours, not just when it usually first comes out, because it usually ends up tending to follow the market direction. So just like we had the Tesla rapids, and there was a bull market today, same thing with Apple Rapids as well. It follows the bull market that we had today. So that's what I usually say to revisit that, because you could have looked back at that at any point in the day, even if you just scalped it for those rapids and you had an opportunity to buy back. And as you see, you had multiple opportunities here to buy that 21-day EMA dip, basically. As you saw, you had it around 11 o'clock in the morning, and then you also had it right around noon that you had opportunity to buy those dips on the 21-day EMA. So that's the opportunity that you have usually when rapids follow the market direction for that specific day. And that's what I want to point out to you guys as well. All right. Other one was MDB. This one was, I was really just, I was not expecting that kind of drop that we had off of this today. And I did see that buyers did step in here, and they stepped in rather early off of this one. But they ended up trying to, I guess, catch the reversal at the bottom after that early morning sell off. And they caught it right here near towards the bottom around 491, and it ended up peaking here at 498. So about a $7 scalp. If they ended up holding it longer than that, then yes, they went at a loss. So this was more so maybe just a quick 8 to 10% gain if you ended up following this one off of this unusual. But otherwise, if you ended up holding it longer than that, then yes, you came out with a small loss off of this one, and you hit your stop loss basically. All right. So usually that's why I pretty much always say if you're usually trying to go for unusuals, try to go for the 8 to 10 quick percent, and that's what we always preach. Despite whether some of you see, I know that the last unusual that came out for MDB, it pretty much moved I think like $40. But you always want to try and be disciplined. Try to be consistent with the 8 to 10% profits, and then sometimes leave a runner for that matter. That way, if you want to catch that bigger move, it's just a runner that's at risk, not your full position. All right. Other one was Google. Google's usually always been hit, pretty much a hitter. I know the last Google alert that came out, that was also a hitter. I believe I was looking at this one more so on the daily time frame. Yes, I was. So looking at this one on the daily time frame, you have a nice little wedge action that's going on here. Looking at the price action that we had today, it's pretty much flat. So it looks like they're looking for a potential move later on here in the week. So I just want to give you the bigger picture. If you're looking to just keep an eye on it, it may be a day trade opportunity, maybe tomorrow, maybe later on in the week. So something to continue watching. It hasn't made its move just yet. That's coinciding with that unusual. So this is one to keep monitoring. But as you see on the daily here, you have a beautiful wedge. It's looking like it's going to have a nice little reversal right here off of this candle that we have from today, being that it was just a flat action, and we'll look to see if we get that reversal right towards the resistance of this wedge. All right. So one to keep monitoring. We'll keep it on watch here going into tomorrow, and we'll see what it does. Another one that was also called out here was Jets. I know that Tatum was watching it. I believe Tom made a comment about it as well. But we saw what airlines did pretty much last week. They got destroyed, being that all the flights were canceled. I even saw headlines today that there was about north of 3,000 flights that were canceled today. So I'm a little bit optimistic about this one, but we did have a little bit of a good sign that it was green today, up about 3% here today. So that was a good sign overall. We'll watch to see the continuation on it. And then that way, once we see if maybe no, this is, may see a little bit of a continuation. I'm watching the resistance over 2211. We'll see. That's my key resistance right there. If we break over 2211, then that'll be when we see a bigger move potentially out of this one, and I'll be watching for a move towards 2285 on this one. All right. Other one was NVAX. This one was, I did see the COVID vaccine names pretty much just getting wrecked today. I know that Pfizer actually had its news for the children. The vaccine got approved for children as young as 12 years old, but the stocks did end up selling off as well. Moderna was down about $21 at one point in the day. And so this one also pretty much just followed suit, but it actually showed a little bit more resilience compared to the other names. So we'll see what this one does. The only thing I don't like about this one in particular is the expiration that they got. They got February expiration, so they gave themselves a lot of time. That's my only concern. So we'll keep an eye on it, but right now I'm not too convinced that this is going to end up breaking down much more than it has. Granted, the fact that this is a really massive dump that we've already had from where we were 236 down to a low of 135. We'll see what she ends up doing there. All right. But I'll keep it on watch. We'll see tomorrow morning if she what price action is pre-market, and we'll go from there then. All right. And then just the last one here to touch bases was Amazon. Of course, everyone's watching Amazon. The one day I particularly didn't want to watch Amazon is the day that it actually decided to fly, and it went for 70 plus north. So we'll see what it does tomorrow. as you see though, the wedge is getting really tight, and that's what I actually wanted to highlight here. Is you see that downtrend resistance, you have that base that we ended up forming here right around that 3312 level. That was literally looks like the support level that we've had. So as we continue to close in on this wedge, as the month continues to pretty much lead right into the earnings, that's what I'm gonna be watching because I don't expect it to break that downtrend resistance tomorrow. I'm not really not expecting that. It may be later on in the week, but we'll continue to see if market continues to rally early in the week here. Then it's a high possibility because I understand we had two Nimbus that came out plus an unusual, which I have not seen Nimbus plus an unusual in the same day for that matter. Usually it's Nimbus or it's just Rapids. But granted the fact that we had unusuals plus Nimbus, it does tell me that something's gonna brew at some point in this weekend. We're gonna have a massive breakout, but I'm not sold on it just yet. I have to see it happen before I'm really convinced. But watching the same level here, 3440, that's really been the key level of breaking and holding. So that's what I'll be watching for. Likely we get a nice gap up at some point once it's gonna hit that breakout. Maybe it's tomorrow. But I want to see a break over that 3440 and hold, and then we'll see this push north here. As I do see that they're pretty much hitting 3450s. All right. I do also like the premiums here as well, so that's also a good sign. It's not like it's just crossing the 100,000 mark, but they did go in pretty heavy. So I'll watch for continuation tomorrow, possible gap up. But key levels, I want to see 33. I want to see 3440 hold, and then see if there's any continuation from that standpoint. All right. But other than that, those are names that pretty much hit. I do want to see a continuation out of the bull market that we had today. It's just really just a fake out for us. The head scratcher today was really seeing the 10-year bond yield up about, we're sitting about 1.63. I know that once we get towards 1.7, that's really going to be a concern for the overall market. And then also the dollar rallying today. So that was really my two concerns. That's what I want to see come tomorrow morning. How is that going to be with the price action of the market? How that's going to coincide? Is there going to be any fear that's going to be on the horizon here going in? So after tomorrow, that's when I would probably caution about holding any type of swing position, because then as we see those 10-year bond yields and the dollar continue to rise, we know that there's going to be some kind of fear, some kind of headline that's going to spook the market, and you don't want to be on the opposite end of that. All right. So that will be my only concern going in after tomorrow. I will caution about holding overnight positions. Uh, Not to say that we're going to end up tanking, because I don't necessarily think it's going to be a tank show, that we're just going to bleed out. But you don't want to be caught on the wrong side for that matter. That's just my caution for everyone. All right. But other than that, let's see what the market gives us going into tomorrow morning. We'll see what it does. I pretty much took about 3 trades today. I didn't really overtrade. Starting the new year, kind of want to just stay disciplined. Usually, I'm always looking at Tesla. I'm always looking at Amazon. So I wasn't doing that today. I tried to ignore Amazon for that matter. We know that there's always times where you're caught on the wrong side and it can be very costly. So I pretty much stuck with what the TA that I was looking at, especially from over the weekend. Looking at Goldman Sachs, that was a beautiful push that we had out of that. Hit my target of 396 and went straight up towards pushing towards 400. That was a good sign. And then also Boeing was a beautiful push today, which I'll be watching for continuation on that one. So other than that, though, I'll leave you guys with that. I think that'll probably conclude tonight. Uh, but do they feel better? Yeah, my dog is good, Tatum. Appreciate it. Other than that, though, I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. We'll conclude tonight's recap here. But I'll see you guys on live tomorrow morning. We'll see what the action is tomorrow morning. I'm pretty sure everyone's gonna be watching the gap up for Amazon and for Tesla. But what we pretty much want to see is what the overall tech sector is gonna do, what Nasdaq feeds are gonna do. Are we gonna pretty much get a continuation out of today, or was this pretty much just leading into our downfall with the dollar and the bond yield rising? So that's what will be the headline probably tomorrow, is watching the bond yield and the dollar, plus watching Nasdaq feeds for the most part. All right, but I'll leave you guys with that, and I will see you guys on live tomorrow morning. All right, everyone.